All right, so welcome to another pod. And in this one, we're going to talk about how to how to deal with anxiety at the tables, but also before your grind. I think that's a common thing as well.
hmm
Some people feel anxiety before they even start playing, and then we're going to talk about anxiety while you're playing. We're going to do a little bit of the role playing that we did in the last podcast as well,
What did
where
what did we do in the last podcast? It was so long ago. I didn't even.
yeah, it was a while ago, but so what we're gonna do
Mhm.
is Scott is gonna role play as the person that is feeling anxious before and during the grind. So he's gonna basically just go back and forth with me. He's gonna play that position that he is that guy that's very anxious even before he starts playing. Sometimes maybe it causes him not to even play that day. And at the tables, he's also feeling very anxious. He wants to know what he can do about it. So that's the role he's going to be playing. And I will be playing mentorship role. All right. So let's talk about anxiety at the tables because I think this is a very common thing, and I think it's even more common than we actually think it is. It's just a lot of people don't even bring it up or talk about it very much. Um, but for some people, it actually affects the way that they actually will play in game as well. So it's not
Mhm.
just a feeling. This is coming out to the way people play, right? Because let's say, for
Mhm.
example, you're at a river and logically you think the right play is all in as a
Mhm.
bluff, let's call it.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of resistance. You're like, it feels kind of anxious to make a big river bluff here and lose an entire stack of chippy V. The easier,
Mhm.
more comfortable play is to click that check button and shut down the bluff. You think it's somewhat
Mhm.
close. One option makes you way more anxious than the other. I think this is a very common thing. I even feel it myself in the games as
Mhm.
well, where I'm on the river. I'm close between a decision. Going all in just feels a lot more anxious, and checking feels a lot easier. Let's talk about that. So, what do you do if you feel anxiety at the table? Pre-grind. Let's start with that. Pre-grind. Scott, first, tell me about your anxiety pre-grind. Tell me about
Well,
what you're going through over there.
particularly if I'm having a bad run
Mm-hmm.
before the grind, I'll treat myself to a bit of panic that it's going to go badly.
Mm.
Um, I will ruminate about all of the horrible spots that I've been in lately. Um, I'll zoom out on my graph and I'll zoom in and I'll compare this bad run to other bad runs and generally just feel bad for myself.
Mm.
Um, and then if I'm feeling especially anxious, it's been going really badly, sometimes I will not go and grind and I will just chill instead. Not study, just go and chill, watch some YouTube videos about the end of civilization and other such
Yeah. Mm.
you know, cheery
Okay.
features. But I just won't play
Yeah.
because
So
I'm
okay.
too scared it's going to go badly again.
Fair enough. So it's fair to say this anxiety is affecting your poker grind, your money.
hmm
It's affecting a lot of things. Um,
hmm
how long, like, would you say you're ruminating? Let's say, like before the grind, you said you spent some time comparing your old graph and your old run bads and like envisioning this grind being terrible and like losing more chip EV and yada yada yada. How
hmm
long are you ruminating and projecting this negativity before your grind? Would you say?
Well, I'd say probably from whenever the pre-grind routine starts to kick in. So, like having some food, like
Mm.
getting, turning the computer on, starting to prepare. Um, you're probably looking at about an hour before every day where I start switching on, as you say, and
Okay, so
start
you're feeling
really
like an
mentally preparing.
hour of anxiety.
Oh yeah, if it's been going badly, yeah. I mean, like it'll permeate after playing and then like in the lead up. So obviously I'm awake for a few hours before I start playing poker because we play at night. So it will be there lurking in the background and I'll give it a little bit of thought throughout the day. but then really in the hour leading up to the grind, it will be fully occupying my thoughts.
For 1 hour.
And for 1 hour, provide only
Wow.
1 hour if I don't grind. If I do grind, and if I don't grind, it will be sort of lurking in my mind while I'm dicking around doing anything I can to not play poker,
Damn. So it's
procrastinating
even
away.
worse when you're not playing.
Yeah, way
Damn.
worse. Yeah,
Okay.
because I'll just kind of I'll do something else, but my subconscious is dominated by playing poker, how
Mm.
badly it's going, and then the anxiety of not playing, the opportunity cost of not playing, and the feelings of laziness and the self-hatred that I lack the mental strength to battle through that anxiety. So it's sort of doubled down. It's two different types of anxiety at once. Run bad anxiety and failure to overcome adversity anxiety.
Let me ask you this question because yeah, there's a lot of people that can relate to exactly what you just said. Let me ask you this question:
Hmm.
do you feel more or less anxious when you're actually playing? In the midst of playing?
The moment the moment I start playing, it probably dissipates as I go through a few hands
Mm-hmm.
and don't get stacked immediately. It starts to dissipate. But much like accumulated tilt, the moment something doesn't go my way or I'm presented with a really difficult situation and I have to choose between the options you gave before, which is take the simple option, which I think comes with less pain, or take the difficult option. Immediately when I'm faced with one of those decisions, that anxiety is going to return. And the
Mm-hmm.
only way that it's going to go away is if I take what I believe is the right decision and I get the right outcome. But if I choose the wrong input, so if I decide to chicken out and I see that my opponent had a hand, for example, that they would have folded, then that
Mm.
anxiety is back and it's even harder because now I'm having performance anxiety and I'm aware of the fact that I'm modifying my play to satisfy my emotional weakness.
Mm.
But if I take the bluff and it backfires, well, then there goes another 300 chips down in the graph or another 500 chips down in the graph. And now I don't want to play poker anymore because this is fucking bullshit. And no one runs as bad as me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you gave the full spectrum because, again, I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that. But from what you just said, I think this is true for a lot of people, by the way, is that you're going to be anxious no matter what. Whether you play, whether you don't play, whether you procrastinate. So if you're going to be anxious no matter what, and then there's a chance of lowering your anxiety if you start playing and like things go okay, I would always just choose that option because I think a lot of people have to realize that they're probably going to be anxious regardless whether you don't play or you do play. The anxiety is still there. It's not going anywhere. It's not like, oh, I'm going to take 2 days off so that I'm less anxious, but the whole 2 days you're going to be thinking about your bad run and you're going to be thinking about why you're not playing and like you're going to make yourself even more anxious. So the anxiety's, I think that's the first thing we can agree on is that the anxiety is there whether you're playing or whether you're not playing.
It is, but if I don't play it,
For
I can't
different
worsen
reasons.
it.
But if you don't play what?
I can't worsen it. So if I've had 3 bad
Uh,
days, my graph's going downwards and I don't play,
okay.
it can't get any worse.
Okay,
And
that's
that's where the
fair.
anxiety comes in.
Okay, so we'll take that point then. So if you play, it can get worse. If you
Hmm.
don't play, it's just like you just have to deal with the normal amount of anxiety or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's an interesting place to be coming from there. Um, because if you do play though, and things go well, you have a chance at bettering the anxiety. Yes or no? If you have a very strong Chippy V day that day, like very strong.
That's the only thing that can
Mm.
happen that's going to cure my anxiety because if I lose again, my anxiety is going to be worse. I am totally at the mercy of variance at this point.
Okay,
Then
so
no
so so
matter,
here's the two routes. Let's just recap before you continue. The one route is you're guaranteed to feel, you have certainty. We talk about certainty. So you're certain to feel some level of anxiety if you don't play. If
Mm-hmm.
you do play, you either get worse anxiety or the anxiety gets lower. So this is where we're at now, yeah? This is
This is the prison. This is the prisoner's dilemma, isn't it?
this is where we're at. So now I think again, like I think this is something that a lot of people can relate to. So this is a very important topic. So now what should you do? Should you go with a guaranteed level 5 anxiety, let's call it? Or should you take a chance and go to like either level 8 anxiety or like level 2 anxiety, let's call it. Let's just say 8 and 2 instead of 10 and 0. Let's just say 8 and 2. Which route
How do I
would you
calculate the
take?
EV of these routes?
Which route would you take? Well, you have to take one of the routes, right? Because like there's what other route is there?
Well, I'm not going to play.
If you're not going to play, what we talked about is you're still at level 5 anxiety, right?
But I cannot take any more. I'm at my wit's end. This is my maximum capability of
So you don't
withstanding.
want to take any more anxiety, but you're okay with this level of anxiety.
Oh no, I'm not okay, but I have to pick my poison, and I choose this one because
Okay.
if I lost
Yeah.
15 binds of EV yesterday. If I go lose 15 binds of EV today, my laptop's going out the window. Fuck this.
Your anxiety is going to be on a whole different level
I just
if
can't. I
you
just
lose some
can't.
more.
I couldn't possibly sustain any more damage at this point. I'm
Okay.
running on E.
That's perfect that you said that. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about your relationship to anxiety. So
Mm.
what's
Best
so
difference.
bad about anxiety? Let's talk about that because this is where we need to talk about. This is exactly where we need to be. What is so bad for you and anxiety?
What
Why
is
are
so
you scared
bad?
of anxiety? Let's just put it that. Why are you afraid of feeling more anxious? Why are you scared of it? Why are you resisting it? What's the problem with being more anxious?
I
What's
mean,
going to happen to you? What's going to happen to you if you feel more anxious? Like, are you going to die? Like, what's going to happen?
I
What's the
don't.
worst
I
case?
know. I know logically I'm not going to die, but my body's response is going to be similar to if I was at risk of dying. So I'm going to get that fight or flight response. I'm going to get the adrenaline. Um, my stomach is going to feel kind of shaky. I'm going to be a bit nauseous. My body temperature is going to go up. My heart rate's going to increase. I'm just going to feel all the feelings of discomfort that you feel when you feel threatened. So I'm going to be feeling under threat, unsafe.
Can you handle that or not?
I'm right now with this bullshit that I've been going through. I can just about tolerate. If I do nothing tonight, if I watch TV, it'll be lurking in my subconscious. I can accept it.
Hmm.
I can live with this level of anxiety just about. I can tolerate it. But if I go and play and it gets worse, that's going to be a level of anxiety I can't tolerate. I'm going to explode.
What does that mean? Explode? Like, let's elaborate.
Well, I'm just gonna like maybe tonight's the night I'm gonna smash my fucking laptop. Maybe I'll, throw my keyboard out the window or put my fist through my monitor. Something really aggro. Like I can't, I, I can't control my anger. My anxiety is gonna become unencumbered rage if it goes badly again today.
So there's a saying. There's not. It's not actually saying. This is something I've made up. It's called replace your worries with strategic action. How can you do that in this case? Replace your worries with strategic action.
Well, I'm guessing that what you're asking me to do is write down what it is that's stressing me out and then write down the solution to those stresses, right?
Hmm, it doesn't even have to necessarily be about writing down in this one. If you're replacing
Or
your, so
just
let's say you're worried about running bad. That's the core worry. Yeah, worried about running bad and feeling anxious.
hmm
So what strategic action can you take to lower the chances of both of those?
Well, firstly, I guess I could study more because the fewer leaks I have, the higher my GPV is going to be. Naturally, my performance is going to improve.
Yes.
I could take some steps away from the poker table to reduce my anxiety in general. So maybe I could start meditating and practice the dare response, trying to convert that anxiety into excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe rewire the adrenal response.
Yes.
I could play lower stakes or a lower table count and improve either my quality of play or um, possibly book a win by playing against weaker opponents. Um, that would be the main ones, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. And then after that, you can read like mindset books. You can read stoicism books that will help with anxiety as well. And you can read. You can throw yourself into studying. Watch Vimeo videos. Show up to like all these things are strategic actions that you can take to lower the probability of having so many bad sessions where your anxiety is out of control or whatever.
What about
So
if I drink 10 beers before grinding and then I won't feel anything, no matter how it goes?
yeah, I mean the problem is tomorrow you will tomorrow you'll feel it when you look at your chip. If it's minus 18 and you have a hangover and you just you're in a very bad place, so that probably won't work. But really the key is I think people spend too much time ruminating instead of doing something about it, right? So it's the same thing as it's the same with anything. Like when I say this thing, replace your worries with strategic action. There's always something you can do. Um, let's say you're worried about your health and you're ruminating about it for like weeks. You're like, okay, what's the strategic action I can take? I can go get, all my blood work done. I can go get a checkup. I can do something to alleviate that. And I don't have to just ruminate. So if we're just sitting down ruminating, thinking about our
Mhm.
anxiety, it's always lingering with us, thinking about like the grind and how bad it's going to go. You just wasted all that time thinking about that instead of doing something about it. You could have spent all those hours in the solver. You could have spent those hours reading, a mindset book, talking to a friend about your anxieties or whatever, because talking to somebody always helps. By the way, everyone watching this, venting is a real thing, and it will help. So book in a session with Oscars. Vent with Oscars. Bounce some ideas off to him. Talk to him. Talking to somebody's gonna help like 100% of the time, basically. If you just tell somebody how you're feeling, you kind of get it out there in the open. You're like, oh, somebody understands me, and that's always gonna help in itself. As far as anxiety issues in itself,